All right. If you're building anything in the cloud, you've got a huge decision to make right at the start. How do you manage who gets to do what? Today, we're diving into that by putting two absolute heavyweights head-to-head, Amazon's IAM and Microsoft's Entra ID. We're going to break down how they work, where they shine, and which one might be right for you. When you strip everything else away, cloud security really just boils down to this one single question. Every single action, every user, every resource, it all needs a crystal clear answer to this. This is the problem that both AWS IAM and Microsoft Entra ID were built to solve. But, and this is the important part, they come at it from completely different directions. So here's how we're going to tackle this. First, we'll set the stage with a big picture dilemma. Then we'll get into the core design differences, the philosophies, really. After that, a direct feature-by-feature comparison. Then we'll look at the real world, where things get messy and hybrid. And finally, we'll wrap it all up to help you figure out the best strategy for your own setup. Okay, let's start with the big picture. These two services are, without a doubt, at the very heart of cloud security. And really understanding what makes them tick is non-negotiable for anyone in IT today. Okay, so even though both of these services manage who gets access to what, they were not born from the same idea. And that is the absolute key to understanding them. Think of it like this. One was built to be the ultimate gatekeeper for its own kingdom, while the other was designed from day one to be the universal passport for an entire digital enterprise. Before we even start talking about features, we have to grasp this fundamental difference in how they're built. It's the why behind their design, and it explains pretty much every single thing we're about to compare. And here it is. This is it. If you remember one thing from this whole explainer, make it this slide. AWS IAM is resource-centric. It wakes up in the morning asking, who can access this specific S3 bucket? Microsoft Entra ID, on the other hand, is identity-centric. It asks, what can this user access across our entire company? That one philosophical split explains everything that follows. And this right here really highlights the practical results of IAM's design. Look, it is unbelievably powerful and granular inside the world of AWS, but its authority stops dead at the AWS border. For pretty much any company operating in a multi-cloud reality, well, that's a huge thing to think about. All right, now that we've got that core philosophy down, let's get into the nitty-gritty and put their features side by side, starting with the absolute basics. So you see similar words here, users, groups, roles, but the scope is just worlds apart. An IAM user, it exists only inside a single AWS account. That's it. An Azure AD user is a directory object that can span your entire organization. And roles in AWS are all about getting temporary access, whereas in Azure, they're part of this bigger framework called Role-Based Access Control, or RAC. This is another massive difference you'll feel every single day. With IAM, you're basically a coder. You're writing these super specific, fine-grained JSON policies that say, allow this specific action on this specific resource. With Entra ID, you're more like an HR manager. You assign a job title, like contributor or reader, to a user. And that role automatically comes with a whole set of permissions. And this is where Entra's identity-first approach really flexes its muscles. Conditional access is so much more than just a static role. It's dynamic. It asks questions in the moment. Is this person signing in from a trusted country? Is their laptop up to date with our security policies? Does this login attempt look sketchy? This kind of context-aware security is, frankly, a total game changer. Now, both platforms have really strong auditing and threat detection. AWS CloudTrail and GuardDuty are hyper-focused on your AWS infrastructure, watching every single API call for anything weird. Entra ID's tools, true to form, are focused on the user's identity itself, looking for risky logins or compromised accounts across that whole Microsoft universe. Let's be real. Almost nobody lives in just one cloud anymore. The world is hybrid. It's multi-cloud. So the really important question becomes, how do these two play together? And here's the crucial bit. This isn't an either-or fight to the death. Far from it. One of the most common and powerful setups out there is to actually use Entra ID as your central command for identity and have it manage access into AWS. This strategy is called Identity Federation, and it can really give you the best of both worlds. So how do you make this magic happen? Well, at a high level, it's a few key steps. You basically teach AWS to trust Entra ID for logging people in. Then you set up a secure handshake using some standard protocols to handle single sign-on and to automatically keep your user lists in sync.
This lets you do cool things like map a DevOps group in your main Entra ID directory directly to an EC2 admin permission set over in AWS.
And why would you do this? The benefits are huge. You manage all your users in just one place, Entra ID. Someone joins the company, you add them once. Someone leaves, you disable them once. Your users get a beautiful, seamless, single sign-on experience. And you get to enforce consistent security rules like multi-factor authentication across both your Microsoft and your AWS worlds.
This integration unlocks some really advanced security tactics, like just-in-time access. With a feature in Entra called PIM, you can get rid of permanent admin accounts. Instead, a developer can say, hey, I need admin rights for just 1 hour to fix this bug. It gets approved, they get the access, and an hour later, poof, it's gone. That is the principle of least privilege made real.
Okay, we've gone through the philosophies, the features, and how they can work together. Now let's bring it all home and help you figure out the right strategy for you. If we look at the peer data, analysts at SelectHub give Entra ID a noticeably higher score overall. Now, this score really reflects its power as a broad, enterprise-wide identity platform, especially when it comes to things like integrations and managing the whole user lifecycle, which, you guessed it, goes right back to its identity-centric DNA. So let's just sum it all up. AWS IAM is the undisputed king of fine-grained, policy-as-code control for anything and everything that lives and breathes inside of AWS. If your whole world is AWS native, it is an amazing, powerful tool. Microsoft Entra ID's strength is its sheer breadth. It's the master of central identity for your entire company. That single pane of glass for users hitting Microsoft 365, Azure, AWS, and literally thousands of other apps. So, you see, it all comes down to this one last question you have to ask yourself. It's not about which tool is better in some abstract way. It's about your world. What does it look like? Are you building a fortress to secure a single, self-contained cloud kingdom? Or are you trying to manage the passports for a sprawling digital empire that spans multiple clouds, on-prem systems, and all sorts of apps? The answer to that is what will truly guide your strategy.